Okay, now I'm back to my screen. What makes the difference in our CVs is actually, okay, let me put it like there are two parts to it now. The very relevant sections, because we are talking about sections for now. The very relevant ones are your contact, summary, experience, education, and skills. Why are they very relevant? Because every person should have these. If you do not have a CV, if you are a fresh graduate, at an entry role, like you just want to get into the market, job market, and you've not had experience and all those things, maybe you would definitely have a way of finding something here. You would definitely have a contact, a must. You would have your contact details, and your contact details, the ones that we are looking for particularly, your mail, your phone number, your mail and your phone number. These are the things that you should have on your CV. Why? Because, okay, what if your CV has all the contents that it's supposed to have, and the people you submitted it to, they are looking for a way to contact you. If they don't have the way of contacting you, it means you are giving them extra work. And in most cases, employers, they don't like being given extra work, because truth be told, some of them, they review hundreds of CVs in a day, or depending on the application. Even all these international programs that people apply for, international job opportunities and all that, you could get up to thousands of CVs to review. Yes, we know that there is the ATS that helps and cut down the list, but it gets to a point where a human has to still go through it individually. So you giving them that extra work of looking for how to contact you, they can easily toss out your CV. I'll be like, no, this person is not yet serious. That's the reason why you should have your contacts there. In some cases, of which the employer, they would always ask, they'll be, okay, where do you stay? In cases where you see that the role you're applying for, or the project you want to apply for, maybe they're asking about location sensitive roles or people, that's when you can consider putting your location, your detailed location. In most cases, it's safe to just add your city and your country, and you are fine with that. But in cases where you now need to get into details, yes, you can put your house address, but ideally, most persons don't have an interest of where you stay exactly, because they are better off with just your city and your country to know how close you are. So that being said, we talk about the summary. Summary is you summarizing who you are. At the time that I designed the first CV that I had as a graphic designer, I also learned something then. I had to try learning the things to do and not to do, and I saw that yes, you could also have what we often call objectives. But the risky part of having objectives on your CV is this: if you are having objectives there, it's likely that what you'll be writing there is a detailed person ready to work for this, to deliver this, to help them to get this, all those terms that they keep saying over and over again. That perfect sentence that comes to your head the moment you want to write your objective so that you can sell yourself well. Many other persons are thinking like you also. So put yourself in the shoes of the recruiter, and you are reading the sentence over and over again. It seems like you're not reading a corporate work, whereas it's people, yes, trying to do their best, and that makes you to be like every other person. But like Boyfriend said, it's all about standing out. How do you stand out? With a summary. Now the thing with summary is, just as the word is, you summarize yourself, but not just about summarizing yourself. You try to narrow it down to what you are applying for, to make it relevant. So of all the things you've done, how can you relate it to what you are doing? Who are you? What do you do? And how relevant is it to what you are applying for? That is what the summary is asking you. When you don't have experience, yes, you've studied in school, summarize your experience as a student. Some of the things, the programs that you were a part of, summarize it in such a way that it can sell you as the right candidate for what you are submitting that CV for. You need a summary, and that summary is your unique story. That is what will sell you better. The next is the experience. That's where you get to put every detail, just like we know the work experience. Where have you worked? As simple as it is. Everybody has that, even if it's just one. Even if it's just one, it has to be there. And then school. if anybody is asking for CV, definitely you have to be an educated person. So where did you school? If it's in the informal sector, yes, you cannot be asking for CV. But in this case, the formal sector, that's where you ask for CVs, and as such, you should have been educated. So, where did you school? That's why you have that question, the need to have your education. And then, like I said, even the starter, people who are getting started with their CVs, this is very relevant to them, because look at this, your skills. In a situation where you do not have experiences, which is common for people that are fresh graduates or people at the entry roles, you'd realize that, okay, yes, you may not have experiences, but that doesn't stop you from having a CV, because you should have skills. These are the skills that you want to sell. These are the skills you are pushing. You are saying that this is what I can do. This is what I've been able to learn. So you can list them. If we had to talk about the types of CVs, there is that which allows you to start with there's that which allows you to highlight your experience, and most times it favors professionals who have been able to, maybe over the years, get to work at different places and build up the experience. But for that fresh graduate who doesn't have that experience, you can start the other way around and start with your skills. These are the very important parts of your CV. Just a minute, please. Okay, so the next part, that's the number 2. It's about volunteering, projects, publications, awards, and presentations. Definitely, as it sounds, if anybody goes into this, you've already experienced a lot, so to say. So this is just like an addition. So probably this becomes relevant to people who are already working, or maybe people in the academic line, because for the publications, most times you get that for people who are in the academic line. So maybe you've carried out a number of researches and it has been published on various journals. This is where you can add it up. It really matters. It really matters, especially when you're looking for admission, or maybe there are some other research groups that you want to join. That is where you have your advantage, that it's not just about where you've worked, but you have that experience of what you've written. For the other person who is into business, or let me say, yes, okay, people into business, people into NGO works and all that, you've volunteered in 1 or 2 places, you've been a part of different projects, or maybe even after everything, you've had awards. This is it. You can add it here. It's all part of your experience. Many persons don't see these things as experiences. Like, if we are to be sincere to ourselves, there are many things. Many of us have done a lot of things while we're on campus as undergraduates, yet their CVs are blank. I don't know if you're part of that, if you're part of those people that have done a lot of things, but you never count all those things you did as useful, therefore leaving your CV empty. If that is the case, you need a lone moment where you just sit back with yourself, talk, and agree with yourself that yes, what you did is actually valuable and should be on your CV. I'm talking to you. So that is it. Please take note of all these things. They are very necessary. You can, okay, let me put it this way. Your CV is not something you just wake up and do immediately and you're done with it. Just like every other article that you want to write, anything that has to do with writing, it's not about just wake up and write. No, you have to give yourself a time. There's a process to it. Most times you could just draft out the outline of what you want to do, and when you are done with the outline, that's when you can now take a break, come back later, develop it, take a break, come back, edit it, take a break, come back, now see, okay, if there is nothing else to edit, then you can now start the visual layout and every other thing. These are the things you can go through, but this is the relevant sections that we are looking at. Then the relevant details that should be in the CV, I'll talk about that more when we move forward. But what we need to know is that it's not just about saying that you went to this school. It's not just about saying that you worked with this set of people or that you worked on this project. No, there are more details that you could give, and as we move forward, you get to learn more about that. And now for the formats, sizes, and saving. Very straightforward. What formats are acceptable? The best tool you can ever give anybody, just find Word documents or PDF. Those are the best that will save you any stress. If you are like me, the first time I did my CV, you may make that mistake of saving as a picture. My dear, my brother, this is the truth I've told myself. I've been mumu. Reason why I said that, well, nobody knows it all definitely, but at least now I know better. That's why I can say that. But if I had known what I knew now, I wouldn't have made that mistake. Let's take it this way. You saved your CV as a picture and you are sending out for an application where thousands of people are also applying, and they're passing your CV through the ATS system. Now, how do you think the ATS system, how do you think it works? These things, they work by reading what you have, and they don't read that by scanning, pictorial scanning of the document. No, they do that by reading the characters in your document. When you save as PDF, when you save as Word documents, the characters are still there, very readable. That is what the ATS that's what the ATS system will usually read, and then get to understand who you are and classify you where you want to be or where you need to be. But if you are sending a picture to it, it's just seeing one file. Yes, it may be counting in ones and zeros, whatever language the system understands, but it is not reading the characters. Therefore, you are irrelevant to it. It doesn't give you a second chance. Okay. Oh, okay. They can't hear me well. Okay. How about now? Oh goodness me. Okay. Well, is it better now? Okay. No problem. No problem. Thank you. So that's it about the format. Let's try as much as possible to save it in the PDF format or the Word document format. These are the formats that our ATS systems can read and understand who you are and what you are applying for, how relevant to what you apply. Let's talk about sizes. These things are bots, and even the bots, they love it when you make life easier for them. Making life easier for them in terms of giving them something light to handle. When I did my first CV and saved it as a picture after designing it as a graphic designer that I was then, I realized that the document was about 20 something MB and even to send it via WhatsApp, it's a lot of trouble, talk less of uploading it online, and you're expecting these bots to go through 20 MB. They don't have that energy to do that. They wouldn't waste so much time on that. Even there are sites that you get to, they will write it clearly that your CV should not be more than 2 MB. If you're tempted to save your CV in any of the extra formats, maybe the JPEG, PNG, or whatever that you say it is, it's likely that the size will be large. But when you save with PDF or Microsoft Word, in most cases it's light, very light. Yes, there are some people who would use other pro design softwares to design and still save it as PDF, quite readable. If they save it well, yes, it may come out light. If not, it may be heavy. So please try to watch out for the size of your CVs when saved. If possible, let it not be more than 2 MB. On a safer side, just target 1 MB. Now the thing is, if you try to do so much design, trying to beautify it so much and all that, you are likely going to have a heavy file, adding your pictures, all those things. But when you make it light and straight to the point, it's lighter and easy to upload. You save, you go enjoy them as you upload them because the thing will go fast. That's the truth. And how do you save your file? Particularly about how you name it. Please, when you save and you name, use your name. Use your name, because when they download all these thousands of articles of CVs, they scan the ones they scan it through the system, take out the ones that are irrelevant. Maybe they now have hundreds to access, and the human beings like you and I are reading these things. Imagine browsing through your system looking for your name, looking for maybe, who will I say now, looking for Alex now or Shikode. Maybe you are now looking for Shikode and you are seeing doc 003 2023 this that. It doesn't make sense. I don't even know who I'm looking at. But assuming I saw something in your CV and I want to trace you back, oh, I remember somebody that I saw this in his or her CV. Let me go and bring him. It might be the right candidate for us. And I can remember your name. It's just a matter of search, get your name, and that is it. That is for your CV. In other cases, for your own good, you as the user yourself now, or as the creator rather, when you want to differentiate your resumes, it's even advised to add the particular role that you crafted the resume for, in the sense that your CV is just like the general file that houses everything about you, your full profile, but your resume is going to straight to the point. Maybe for the role you are applying or whatever, you are tailoring that down to a particular task, something that you want to secure. So maybe if you are applying for a content writer role, it means that you filter out the contents that are not relevant to being a content writer. Yes, you still have your education because it matters where you read, but at least when you now go into details of what you did as a student, there are some details that are not needed. Just take them out and put the ones that are relevant to writing. That is how you filter it down, get your resume tailored to every role that you are applying for with that particular one. And how do you know which is which? By that extra tag. So you could say something like Anthony Shomoba, graphic designer, Anthony Shomoba this, Anthony Shomoba that, depending. You know what you're applying for. That is something you can do for you to find yourself easily, and for the people you're applying to also find you easily. That is about formats, sizes, and saving. Now to the interesting part of it, what you may not know. This is some of us, we know these things, but it doesn't register in our head until maybe something happens and we get to remember, or maybe someone calls our attention to it. That's when we get to learn and say, oh, it's true. Let's put it this way. The first part, okay, well, I will get to that. There are three sections: the output versus the roles. We'll explain that. We have the language, talking about keywords, trigger words, and then the design layout. Let's start with output versus roles. What's the difference? This is, remember when I told you that we'll talk about details? We are now looking at the details now. For every experience you had, for every place you've worked, or maybe for your education, each education that you enter, if you look well, most proper CVs, they have extra details under that are in bullet points outlining things. Now, what are they outlining? They're outlining things that are relevant to the place or the work that they're applying for. And not just that it's relevant to it, they are detailing what they've done in the past, what they really did. Now, watch this. This is the difference now. The roles, most people usually put in their roles: in charge of this, in charge of that, in charge of the other one. Yes, we know we're in charge of that, but that's not relevant to us. The question is, what did you really do? It's not about what they told you to do there. It's what did you eventually get to do even when you entered there. And that is output. To make it easier, because many of us may not even understand what it means to get that output right, but to make it easier, think of it this way. Can you use numbers to quantify what you've done? That's a very good question to think of it. So you are a sales person, and you are in charge of signing up users to the app that you are working with. Maybe let's say you are working with a firm that developed a new app, and as a salesperson, you have this target of signing up 10 persons per day. Let's work per day. That is your role, but the output is how many persons exactly did you sign up. So you can now say, I signed up 5 people per day. And if you want to make the numbers bigger to entice the person reading it, you can now summarize it. Instead of per day, you can now say per week, or per month, or per year. For example, 5 persons per day and you are working 5 days a week, it means you signed up 25 people per week. By months, we have 4 weeks, so 25 by 400. So you signed up 100 people within a space of 1 month. Things like this, these are what people want to hear. The impact of what you are doing, like how relevant is what you're being there. That's what they want to know. Okay, you were in school and you want to, maybe you're at that entry role, you want to use what you did in school as your own advantage. You were the president in your department. What did you do as a president? The director of social, you organized dinner. How many people attended the dinner? How much was raised for the dinner? How were you able to raise that? These are the things that matter. It's not about saying that I did this, but how, that answer of how, this is what people are looking for, and that is what defines the output, not the role. Everybody can easily state their roles. Most CVs are just people listing out their roles. I don't know, maybe many of you might already be examining your conscience now, and you are telling yourself, if it be me, if it be me. If this is you, think about it. Ask yourself, how can you add numbers to those points that you are adding there? One thing I know for sure that it will help you do is that you may have a long list of bullet points in your CV, but by the time you start adding numbers to it, it may reduce. And the beautiful part of its reduction is that it helps you get to that 2 pages that people usually recommend, 2 pages, 1 page, or something like that. It's easy to get to that. But when you are now trying to impress people and speak all the grammar and start listing all the roles that you have, you will list so many things so that you look important, whereas you are not important. Sorry, it might be rough, but that's the truth. We have the words to sell what we are doing, what we are saying and all that, but it might not really be communicating the right value. Let's talk about the languages, keywords and triggers. Wow, there's something I want to read out. I had to open it around beside me. So something like, okay, let's do it this way. You have your CV, you know what's on your CV. Maybe you could just answer yourself, but do you have this phrase, result oriented, on your CV? Result oriented, innovative, things like that. Resourceful person, things like that. This is a sweeter body as we put on for our CV, but the truth is that almost like 90% of every other person submitting their CV, they're also trying to impress like you, and these are the words that they find. These are the ones we call the trigger words. Most employers, when they say these things, they know that this one never ready. This person is just trying to impress, trying to sell himself, but doesn't have the content. We are not ready for that. Whereas you can still make use of words to your own advantage, and that is when you start looking for keywords. Now, keywords, when you talk about keywords, these are things that your employer wants to hear. And in most cases, they give you these hints, especially for job opportunities. Even NGO programs where they call for volunteers and all that, they always give you a hint of what they expect to see on your CV. Maybe if you open up a job role, they will list the responsibilities, the skills needed, all those things. There is a way you can do it manually, but there is this easier part of it. If you have the right tools that can help you, just copy out that job description, put it into the right tool, and it will help you define and list all the necessary keywords for you. Yes, some people can do the rough work of playing with those words and just finding a way to mix it up, twist it, and get it into your CV. That is not the beauty of it, no, because that is just you playing a game. Yes, it may favor you, let's be sincere, but then the beauty of it is, if you've really done the work, you know how to use these words correctly, and not just about using it correctly, but using it in such a way that it reflects what you've done. And again, being what you've done, you can define your outputs easily by giving the numbers and not just speaking the regular grammar, making it just about roll and all that. No. If you can find these keywords, they are looking for a graphic designer. Graphic designer should suppose get a knowledge for what's it called. We have a Photoshop, we have Adobe Illustrator, InDesign, CorelDRAW. At least these four. Most times, like if there's anyone that you would see less, it could be Adobe InDesign, but at least you would see the other three. You are looking for a copywriter, and you don't know QuillBots, you don't know Grammarly, all those things that help you write better. What are you then? You're an economist, and there are some relevant tools that you should know how to use. And sometimes, or most times, for you to get the right keywords, one of the easiest places, the very easiest place where people add keywords, you see the summary and the skills section. In summary, it may be a bit tricky because you are trying to make a sentence out of these keywords. But then, when it comes to the skills, you are listing out these words as it is because it's relevant to what you do and you know these things. It's not just that you are putting it because you see what's on the job description. No, you are getting the keywords, you are using them correctly, and that passes this message of I am the right person. You are speaking their language. That is what it means. That's why you have that language there. Speaking the language of the people that you are applying to. I cannot be looking for an NGO role, or let me say, okay, yes, I cannot be looking for a government role and I'll be talking like a kindergarten teacher. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. Yes, your teaching experience might be relevant to whatever government role that you want to be a part of. I'm not talking about just civil service now. Maybe the top leadership government or something, getting into politics and all that. If you don't speak the language, you are irrelevant. So that is part of the things that help people get relevant in what they're doing. Like I said, how do you identify the keywords? You can study the job description either manually or automatically, but right now it's not the best time to start listing out and showing you the processes of how to go through all the automated systems, but there is, maybe in due time we can do that. And trigger words, it might be hard for you to decide what all the trigger words are. Yes, a quick search on Google can show you some of them, the most popular ones that you can try to take out of your CV. But then there are also automated systems, places where you can upload your CV and it does the scanning for you. Not just that it does the scanning, it now lists some of these things and tell you, oh, this may be a trigger word, you should correct this. We need to know these things, but it's a matter of time. It's a matter of time. And layouts. We are human beings, in as much as many people will not agree with this, but we respond better to visual layouts. Yes, you've made your CV and all that, and in most cases people don't look at the beauty of your CV, but a well presented food feels more attractive than the regular meal that somebody brings on a stainless steel plate. Like when they serve you food on all those Chinawares, it's more attractive than when you now start going for the stainless steel plate. This is what you're doing with your CV. If you just type and submit it like that, it's hard to read. Again, think of the human beings reading it. Yes, the machine might read it at some point. You may play some tricks on the machine because it's a machine. But what if you pass through that machine? You then get to a human being. And if it's not set up for the right human being, that becomes a problem. How do you make it easier? By your layout. We can start talking about the design principles now, but it could become a part of the next class that we may also have here. The very basic one for CVs now is this. Refuse that temptation of adding so many designs. You are not a graphic designer. Sorry, I'm looking at you while saying it. Not everybody is a graphic designer, except you know the very basic principles of graphics. That is when you can play with design, or maybe your instincts can guide you on that. And not just that, when you tend to design and you are doing it wrongly, it may make what you already have even harder. So it's best for non-designers to just try to stick with basic editing and get it as simple as possible. And while we are talking of basic editing, we're also talking of single column presentation. You can see designs, CVs that have multiple columns, maybe 2 or 3. They try to make it all beautiful and everything. Except you have someone who understands graphics and can help you lay it out well, it will look good and easy to read. But if you make the mistake of doing it wrongly, that is when it becomes a problem. For now, this is where I will be stopping, and I would like to hear from us. Get your questions, let me answer it. Let's see how we go on from here. And not just that, before we move on, I just want to say, why is it necessary to have a good CV or resume? It's not just about saying that you have a resume, that you're applying for a work or something. The beautiful part of it is, if you're able to make out that time, for some people it could take them over a week depending, to have their CVs right. Even when you submit it to people to help you make your CV, you would notice that it takes them time too. Taking them time is not just because they have multiple people that they're building the CV for and all that. No, it's because there are details that they want to pay attention to, and if done right, it's very easy for you to set up your LinkedIn profile. It's very easy for you to even build your website. Many people, when you talk about branding, just like Buffett mentioned, one of the most valuable assets you would ever get is your own personal website, both for the marketing purpose of it and for the branding purpose of it, because that is something you can say that you own. Elon Musk is coming up with so many rules, awesome and interesting rules on Twitter. Maybe one day you can only be on Twitter if you are verified, and for you to be verified means you have to pay. Who knows? And if that's the case, that means you are now kicked off of Twitter. Then what's of LinkedIn? Maybe if Microsoft decides we are done with this, it's not doing that, and they close, what's next? So most of these platforms, they can close, but in most cases you have like 99, or let me say 95% control over your website. This is what you can use. And when you want to build it, many people will tell you, I don't know what I'll put on my website. The moment you get clear with your CV, all these things are very easy to do. For some people, building a good LinkedIn profile could mean as simple as just copy your details from your CV into your LinkedIn profile. For the website, it means just find a way, the way you sectioned your CV. There is a way you could also section it, make it a little bit similar, and you have your website. These are very basic things that people may not know. You know, when we talk about having a website, it seems hard. It seems very hard. But even the site that we used for the registration of this program, it's a very basic one. The very basic one. The platform developed by a Nigerian, and you can do that even straight from your phone. With that, you can have your own website. Very easy. So the question is, why are you holding yourself back with that lack of a good CV? Let's put it that way. You don't have a good CV. Yes, you may have a CV. Are you sure it's okay? If your CV is to be audited, is it the right CV? You know, with the time that we have now, what we can do is just to highlight these things for you. But don't not to be bothered. We are here together. This is a community, and the next class. We will now talk about the how, and you get the details about the tools that you could use to automate these processes. To be sincere, I don't know about you. I love the easy lifestyle, but it doesn't mean that I don't get to work hard. Yes, but when you have that option to automate things, you do that. That's why you have AI. Thank God for all the wonderful platforms that are helping out with that. AI is much, and it can help you a lot in many ways if you understand. But then you have to start yourself. You would have to start within yourself. For you to do anything about tech, AI, or whatever, it starts with your understanding of what you're about to do. And in this case, for people who want to increase their chances of being employed, for people who are trying to get their CV right and all that, this is the first way of getting your thoughts clear, by having a good CV. I may not get the response, but I would again ask. With the little I've said, the little or the much I've said, I don't know. Do you think you still have a good CV? Do you think, for those of you that answered you have a good CV, if you want, you can drop it in the chat box. Do you have a good CV? Or do you think it's time for you to audit your CV to know what's wrong and what's right? And for those that don't have, do you think you have a hint, an idea of how to get started? If you don't have an idea of how to get started, don't worry. Like I said, there will be a next class. Hero Kelechku, yes, that you have a time for auditing. You need auditing, right? Man, thank you so much, guys. Time to upgrade my CV. Interesting. Okay. All right. So many people are now thinking it through. That's good. Thank you so much, guys. If you have any question, I'm here. I'm ready for it right now.